Welcome back, everyone, to the Deep Dive. All right, today we're diving into, well, honestly, a truly incredible story, the story of Major John J. Duffy. We're going to be looking at his service, his experiences, and the remarkable recognition that he received, including the Medal of Honor.
Absolutely. And, when I was going through the material you sent over, what really jumped out was, the kind of sustained commitment. It's not just one moment of heroism. We're talking about a career that's really marked by repeated valor, and it all kind of culminates in this one truly pivotal battle.
Right. So for you listening, let's get you oriented here. We're talking about John J. Duffy. He enlisted in the Army way back in 1955. Dedicated his career to special operations, and get this, rose from sergeant all the way to major. Now, during this time, served 4 combat tours in Vietnam with, the very well-known 5th Special Forces Group and MACV Team 162. They were known as the Red Hats. Now, these units, they were operating in some really challenging and often, kind of clandestine environments. But what's really interesting? His impact goes way beyond just his military service. He went on, to lead a publishing company. He founded an investment firm, and this firm eventually, became part of TD Ameritrade. So really a very, very multifaceted career. But, today we are focusing on these extraordinary actions, specifically in Vietnam, that earned him the Medal of Honor. And we've got a lot to work with here. We've got biographical information, a really detailed account of one specific intense battle, and then, some news coverage surrounding the recognition that he ultimately received.
And I think as we go through all this, it's worth noting that his early career and those multiple deployments, behind enemy lines with these really elite units like the 5th Special Forces Group. I mean, this was a unit that was known for its unconventional warfare capabilities. It really sets the stage for that exceptional leadership that he would later show.
Okay, so let's kind of look at those early tours then. 4 combat tours in Vietnam and consistently in special operations. That suggests not just skill, but a really deep resolve to operate in these high pressure situations. When we talk about operating behind enemy lines, you have to think about the isolation, the constant threat. That really speaks to a very particular kind of soldier.
Yeah, it does, and that commitment it's really illustrated by the sheer number of awards that he ends up accumulating. I mean, you're talking about 64 decorations in total, and get this, 29 specifically for valor. I mean, that's not just participation. That's repeated courage under fire.
29 for valor. It's hard to even grasp the significance of that kind of number. And the awards themselves, I mean, they really tell a story. You have the Distinguished Service Cross, which is our nation's 2nd highest military decoration for valor, and we know this was later upgraded to the Medal of Honor. The Soldier's Medal, which is awarded for heroism in non-combat situations. 4 Bronze Stars, each bearing the Valor device. That V signifies direct participation in an act of heroism against an enemy. Then, there are 8 Purple Hearts, each one indicating he was wounded in action, 7 Air Medals, 6 of which carry that Valor device, plus Army Commendation Medals with Valor, and even the Cross of Gallantry with Palm, which is Vietnam's highest award for Valor. I mean, it's almost an overwhelming list, and that's even before you consider, the unit citations and other service awards that really mark his long and dedicated service.
What's really interesting when you look at that list is that each one of those Valor devices represents a documented instance of bravery, a moment where, he consciously put himself, at risk, and 8 Purple Hearts. That means, he's facing these life-threatening situations on multiple occasions and continues to serve. It really underscores just how intense his experiences really were.
Absolutely. Now let's focus on the event that really stands out here. This is the crucible that forged his Medal of Honor. We're talking about April 14th and 15th, 1972, in the Central Highlands of the Republic of Vietnam. The situation, it was already incredibly dire, wasn't it?
Oh yeah, the context here is really crucial. So just 2 days prior, the South Vietnamese Airborne Battalion that he was advising, the 11th Airborne Battalion of the 2nd Brigade, they had taken really heavy casualties. Their commander was killed, their command post was destroyed, and Duffy himself had already been wounded twice. So you got to think about already injured in the midst of chaos, and he refuses medical evacuation. That one decision, it really speaks volumes about his sense of duty and his commitment to the Allied soldiers, fighting alongside him.
Okay, so for our listener, imagine this. You have a fire support base. Essentially, it's a fortified position providing artillery support. It's named Charlie, and it's surrounded by a much, much larger enemy force. We're talking a full battalion. So that's a really significant imbalance of power from the outset. And when that first attempt to resupply them by helicopter fails because they can't even secure a landing zone, Major Duffy takes this unbelievably courageous step. He moves closer to the enemy's anti-aircraft position, so knowingly putting himself in their line of fire to direct airstrikes. It's almost impossible to comprehend that level of deliberate risk.
Yeah, it really is. And as the sources detail, I mean, during this act of incredible bravery, he's wounded again, this time by fragments from a recoilless rifle, and yet his response is the same. He still refuses evacuation. This wasn't some fleeting moment of courage. It was a sustained act of defiance against these overwhelming odds, and he's doing it even while suffering further injury.
And the pressure, it didn't let up. So the enemy then began this intense artillery bombardment of the base. And again, Major Duffy remained in this exposed position, directing gunship fire onto the enemy artillery. And they were effective. They silenced that attack. It's one thing to call in air support. It's a whole other level of bravery to stand there while shells are falling around you, guiding fire onto the very forces that are trying to eliminate you.
Yeah, exactly. His ability to maintain focus and coordinate those airstrikes under that kind of withering fire, it's truly remarkable. And what he does next, really demonstrates his complete dedication to the soldiers on that base. Mm-hmm. So after they've neutralized that immediate artillery threat, he personally assesses the damage, ensures that the wounded are moved to safer areas, and redistributes critically low ammunition supplies. Mm-hmm. So he's not just focused on the immediate threat, he's also focused on the long-term survival of that unit.
And the enemy's assault continued, so they resumed that indirect fire. An estimated 300 rounds raining down on that fire base. And once more, Major Duffy stayed in that exposed position, directing further gunship fire. So this wasn't, an isolated act of heroism. It was a sustained effort throughout that entire day.
Yeah, it really paints this picture of a leader who was utterly determined to hold that ground, right? Against overwhelming odds, in constant danger. He becomes this crucial link, this vital point of contact for air support, which likely was the only thing preventing that base from being completely overrun.
And then as the day wore on, late in the afternoon, the enemy launched this full-scale ground assault from all sides. You can only imagine the intensity, the chaos of that moment. And in the midst of it, Major Duffy is moving between these defensive positions, adjusting fire, spotting targets for any remaining artillery. And in a truly extraordinary and difficult decision, he even directs gunship fire onto a friendly position that had been overrun, knowing it was the only way to prevent further enemy advance. That kind of decision, that demands an incredible clarity of thought and just an agonizing willingness to make the hardest choices.
Yeah, that moment really, it highlights his tactical acumen and his complete understanding of the battlefield situation, even as those individual positions were being lost. Directing fire onto friendly forces is a last resort. I mean, that's a devastating choice, but one that's made with the understanding of the greater strategic imperative. And it speaks volumes about his leadership, under unimaginable pressure.
And the next morning, April 15th, brought no relief. So the enemy ambushed that beleaguered battalion, inflicting even more casualties, scattering personnel. And even in this desperate aftermath, Major Duffy takes initiative. He leads the surviving evacuees, many of them severely wounded, towards the designated evacuation area, all while still under enemy pursuit. I mean, just think about the responsibility of leading a group of wounded men through hostile territory.
Leading a group of severely wounded soldiers under continued enemy fire, it requires immense courage and exceptional leadership. He had to maintain order, keep them moving, provide reassurance in this terrifying situation, and undoubtedly he's making critical decisions about who needs the most immediate help.
And And then upon reaching the exfiltration site, his actions didn't stop. He continues to direct gunship fire onto the pursuing enemy. He marks the landing zone for the helicopters. But here's a detail that really stands out. He only boards that final evacuation helicopter after ensuring that every single other evacuee was safely on board. And even then, he notices a wounded door gunner and administers first aid. That selfless act, prioritizing the safety and well-being of others above his own, even in that final moment of escape, that really defines heroism.
It really does. The sources, they emphasize that his extraordinary heroism, his unwavering selflessness, it went, far beyond any expectation of duty. It really embodies, the highest traditions of military service. Yeah. And it's just a powerful reflection of his characters and his profound commitment to his fellow soldiers.
And this remarkable bravery, though it took considerable time, it was ultimately recognized with the Medal of Honor. The ceremony at the White House with President Biden presenting the award took place on July 5th, 2022. And it's important to remember, as the sources point out, that he'd initially been awarded the Distinguished Service Cross for these same actions back in 1972. So a recognition that was later elevated to the Medal of Honor.
Yeah, that upgrade from the Distinguished Service Cross to the Medal of Honor, it underscores just how extraordinary his actions were.
Yeah.
And that rigorous review process that ultimately confirmed their unparalleled valor. And this was recognition that was clearly and deservedly earned, even if it came after many, many years.
And the honors continued. So the very next day, July 6th, 2022, he's inducted into the Pentagon Hall of Heroes. That places him among the most revered figures in American military history. Individuals who have demonstrated the highest levels of courage and sacrifice.
The induction into the Pentagon Hall of Heroes is a significant and really a lasting tribute. It solidifies his place among that elite group of service members whose bravery has really defined the ideals of military service.
It's also worth noting that prior to this, in 2013, Major Duffy was inducted into the Infantry Hall of Fame at Fort Benning, Georgia. So this earlier recognition really speaks to his distinguished career as an infantry officer and his significant contributions to that branch of the Army.
Yeah, and that earlier induction really highlights the respect and recognition that he held within the infantry community, for his long and dedicated service. Yeah. And this is even before that final and highest honor was bestowed.
And our sources include this really powerful quote from General Joseph M. Martin, who was the Vice Chief of Staff of the Army. He stated that it seemed unfathomable that some 40 men with no food, water, or ammunition could still be alive amidst the swarm of enemy fighters. He directly credits Major Duffy's heroic actions, including his willingness to call in airstrikes on his own position, to facilitate the battalion's withdrawal with their survival. And General Martin quotes Major Duffy's Vietnamese brothers as saying that he saved their battalion from complete annihilation. That's incredibly high praise and a testament to the profound impact of his leadership in that desperate situation.
That quote really crystallizes the significance of his actions. It wasn't just, about individual acts of bravery. It was about his exceptional leadership under this extreme duress that directly resulted in saving the lives of numerous Allied soldiers and preventing a significant defeat.
And further underscoring his crucial role in this battle is the mention of this book, Muahi Luado, also known as The Red Flames of Summer by Captain Nam Not Phan. Our source notes that Major Duffy played a central role in the events that are chronicled in this award-winning book, and it offers a perspective from one of the South Vietnamese officers who fought alongside him.
Yeah, and that firsthand account from a fellow soldier in that battle, it provides another really powerful layer of validation, demonstrating the impact of Major Duffy's leadership, as witnessed by his Vietnamese allies.
Beyond his extraordinary military career, Major Duffy also achieved significant success in civilian life. As we mentioned at the start, he served as president of a publishing company and founded and led an investment firm that was eventually acquired by TD Ameritrade. That's a remarkable transition. Suggests that the leadership qualities that he honed in the military, translated very effectively to the business world.
To achieve that kind of success in entirely different fields after such an intense, military career, It's truly impressive. I mean, it makes you wonder how that strategic thinking and decision making under pressure in combat, how that informed his approach to business leadership.
And here's a perhaps unexpected dimension to his life. So he was nominated for the Pulitzer Prize and has published 6 books of poetry. 2 of his poems are inscribed on monuments, including the Forward Air Controller in Colorado Springs. He even wrote and delivered the Forward Air Controller's Requiem. This reveals a deep artistic and reflective inner life, which is quite a contrast to the intense world of special operations.
Yeah, it is, and that artistic side it offers this fascinating glimpse into how he processed his experiences, and the deeper reflections that he had on his service, and the fact that his poetry is inscribed on monuments. That suggests that his words resonated, deeply with others, particularly those who shared similar experiences. Mm-hmm. It highlights the power of art to capture and convey, the complexities of military service.
He's also remained deeply connected to the veteran community. So he was a founding member of the Special Operations Association and a life member of numerous other organizations representing Special Forces and Vietnam veterans. This continued involvement really speaks to a lasting commitment to his fellow service members.
Yeah, and that ongoing dedication to these associations, it demonstrates a strong sense of camaraderie and a desire to continue serving his community even after his active military service concluded.
And finally, we learned from our sources that Major John J. Duffy currently resides in Santa Cruz, California. It's a powerful reminder that these incredible acts of heroism were performed by a real person who continues to live among us.
Yeah, indeed. It's easy to get caught up in the details of the battle and the accolades, but remembering that this is the story of a living individual. I mean, it adds this profound sense of respect and a deeper appreciation for his service and sacrifice.
So as we bring this deep dive to a close, for you listening, you've heard this incredible story of Major John J. Duffy's extraordinary bravery and selflessness during those pivotal days in April 1972. His actions went far beyond the call of duty. I mean, they really embody the highest ideals of military service. He faced repeated injury, overwhelming enemy forces, and yet he consistently prioritized the lives of his fellow soldiers above his own.
And as our sources have clearly shown, this remarkable valor was eventually recognized with numerous prestigious awards, culminating in the Medal of Honor. His story, it's not just a tale of battlefield heroism. It's a testament to enduring leadership and a life of significant impact, and that's documented both in official records and in his own very powerful writings.
It really makes you reflect, doesn't it, to imagine confronting that kind of relentless pressure, those multiple life-threatening situations, and still maintaining the mental clarity and the unwavering commitment to lead and protect others. What does that kind of profound courage and selflessness teach us about the depths of human potential and the fundamental importance of service to something greater than oneself? It's a question that really lingers, and perhaps it'll inspire you to explore further into the history of this very intense battle, or delve into the remarkable life and the powerful poetry of Major John J. Duffy. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
Thanks for having me.
See you next time.